What fresh hell awaits us this week? Welcome to yet another week of content here as we move toward the 100-day mark of this election cycle. One that started off as boring as watching paint dry and has now become as interesting as drinking paint. In case you were living under a rock, Joe Biden is no longer running for president of the United States, although he remains president. Wall Street Journal article today detailing all of the mental lapses that terrified the Democratic Party. Of course, not enough to not run him through the primaries and have him less than 2 weeks away from getting the nomination before forcing him out in a display of public humiliation. But that's old and busted. The new hotness is Kamala Harris. Folks, America's got Kamala fever, especially the Democrats. They've fallen out of a coconut tree and they are unburdened, my friends, by what has been. Obviously, this week is going to be entirely dedicated to understanding where we are right now because this is the first time that anyone has ever been here. The history of American presidential politics has never featured a candidate that has gotten out this late. A candidate, let alone what we saw yesterday, which was a sitting president. This might be the year that we add a fourth politics. So here's what I want to do, because we're going to have Tom LoBianco and Michael Cohen back on the show. We're putting our little band back together after I hung out with Tom in Milwaukee. But here's what I want to bring to the table during that discussion, because we need to reorient our bearings. Everything is insane right now. What did we know, and what are we looking to see whether or not it's still true? All right. Well, I'll probably figure out a catchier way to say that. But I'm going to start here. Things we know. Kamala is a terrible candidate and campaigner. Now again, right? So here's what we're looking for. It's not to say that might be true. We might be unburdened by what has been. But let's understand the burdens. Kamala Harris ran for president once before. In 2020, she raised a lot of money. She ran through a lot of money really fast. She changed her position. She moderated. First, she was for Medicare for all. Then she wasn't. She ran away from her record. She humiliated Joe Biden on stage. She got humiliated by Tulsi Gabbard on stage. And then she was out before Iowa. So is she still a terrible candidate and campaigner? usually that's the, once you kind of see somebody on that stage, it's hard to get that picture out of your mind. And then on the other side, how much control is she going to have over her own campaign? Who's going to run her campaign? Because I would imagine that everybody that was in the inner circle for Joe Biden they're going to be dropped from the top of the arena like the balloons at the convention. Like they are out. They are done. They might never work in politics again. Things we know. Joe Biden's record is a problem. One of the things that we're going to find out going forward is how much of Joe Biden's polling, which now you can throw pretty much everything out, right? Because we don't know what is real in a Kamala world that was real in a Joe Biden world. But how much of Joe Biden's problems were Joe Biden and how much were the record? I tend to be, and this is gut, right? I tend to believe that there is more of a negative reaction to Joe Biden's record than the average person in the mainstream media wants to say it. I think if you look at right track, wrong track, if you look at approval rating, things aren't great. And so if Donald Trump is offering substantive changes to things that matter for Americans, specifically the economy and the border, is Kamala going to offer any different vision than Joe Biden? Is she going to run away from Joe Biden's record in any way? That is a question to ask. Do we think that Biden will wait till the DNC to officially step down and give the reins to Kamala? Okay, you guys ready for a prediction? I got a prediction. If we get this first batch of polls and they haven't really moved all that much, I don't think the bullying is done for Joe Biden. I think he will be bullied to step down as president. He'll be bullied to resign as president if the polls aren't great. If the polls are good, you see positive movement, but there is one more way to shake up this race. There's only one more way to shake up this race, and that is for Kamala Harris to be the sitting president. All right. Things we know. Let's do a Trump one. Trump is old. He is now the oldest candidate in this race. That was something that was not true when I woke up yesterday. He is now 1 year older than Joe Biden was when he was elected in 2020. Does that become more of a focus? Do the Democrats now really want to talk about age? I think my biggest question, the one that I've kind of sat with, is how much can Kamala run away? How much leeway does she have between Joe Biden's record and herself? She can go crazy on his record. He won't know. I did get a text from a normie friend of mine asking whether or not I thought it was possible that Biden was dead. I have no reason to believe that that's the case. In fact, if Biden was dead, I think it would be a lot cleaner for the Democrats. I think that they would prefer if Joe Biden were dead. Analysis and humor. We're laughing. It would just be easier because you could say, oh, the great man, boy, he gave it all he had. He left it all on the field. He really was it'd be better than humiliating him. People were shocked that Joe Biden didn't tell his staff. His staff was still whipping delegates 30 minutes before he released the letter. But it's like, have you seen how that staff leaks? Of course. He can't tell anybody. Joseph Boss, would it be enough if she can convince moderates that she's a generic Democrat? Will that be enough? Well, that's the $1 million question, Joseph. So let's go ahead and take a look. Here is the argument for generic Dem uber alles. All right, let's look at Michigan. This is a state that Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and now Kamala Harris need to win. Absolutely need to win. This was one of the polls that might have actually been a kill shot for Joe Biden. That is Donald Trump up 7. He is plus 2.1 in the Real Clear Politics average. Obviously, all of this is going to change. However, oh, look at this. Michigan, this day in history. This day in history, Joe Biden was up 7.7 in the RCP aggregate and was up 5. And Clinton was up 5 in 2016. So that shows you where this is, right? This has been a gigantic flip. But let's look at Michigan Senate. Roger Slockett. Now, they have not had that primary yet. This isn't official, but we are assuming it is. That looks more like what the RCP average was back in the day, right? Was 4 years ago for Biden, up 5. So the argument is that Joe Biden is uniquely unsuited to win this race. And that a generic Democrat, because these Senate seats are running, they're trending Democratic, they are indicative of the fact that the Democratic message is resonating. It is the candidate that's a problem. Now, I got no reason to not believe that right now. But I don't know, because there's still a lot that kind of goes into that, including, Mike Rogers is a bit of a different story because Mike Rogers has held elected office before. He was a representative. But the Republicans are not running anybody who's won statewide. They're running a lot of first-time politicians, which, for the Republicans, they're like, okay, we're running first-time politicians that aren't Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker. Okay, cool. Still, though, you couldn't find anybody who's won anything in the state before. It's got to be the first time. Hold on. Let's dispense with this fiction real quick. Harris has to win the nomination. A month is a long way for the Democrats. You're right. A month is a long way, which is why they're not going to wait a month to make her the nominee. There is the virtual roll call, which has bounced in purpose now 3 times. Now is going to make Kamala Harris the nominee 10 days from now, 9 days from now. They will not wait until the convention to make it official. They are going to do a virtual roll call. They will not wait until all the delegates can talk to each other. They will not have any presentation. There will be no town halls. There will be no debates. Kamala is the nominee. If you thought Joe Biden could win the presidency on Friday, you're an idiot, according to the Democratic Party. You're very stupid. Of course he couldn't. Why would you be that dumb? Kamala is going to win, and that's why we're not really even going to have her talk to anybody or talk to the nation, right? She's just going to be the nominee. That's it. We've had enough infighting. I hope everybody's had fun. We move on. We move on. Early fundraising is a good sign for her. So I don't know exactly what those numbers are. Ashley mentioned it to me. Blue Kamala. Act Blue raises almost $50 million in donations after Kamala Harris announces the campaign. This has been the biggest fundraising day of the 2024 cycle, says Act Blue in a tweet, raising nearly $50 million in donations. So that's a gigantic number. That's a gaudy number. You want the number more than you don't want the number. I do think that it is a little bit of a rubber band snapping. There's been some tension and there's been donors performatively holding off money because they wanted Joe Biden to leave. And so that is the tension being released. But I don't think money is going to be a problem for her. And for the record, money wasn't a problem for her last time she ran. She was very well funded. It's wild that Trump can say, I get $45 million a month from Elon and I got to make life good for him and no one cares. I mean, if we're going to do the take everything Trump says thing literally, then we can. Yeah, certainly. Also, I think that there was probably bigger news spin, you know. That happened within 12 hours of the president not running for president again. By the way, 0 for 2 on Catholic second terms. A big 0 for 2 on Catholic second terms. You hate to see it. All right. Here's what I need. I need to find that Politico article about Kamala's campaign back in 2020 because I need to have the facts right on that. What steakhouse will you be treating Jen to? Well, it depends. She has to deliver her steak bet that I won, and then we will see. You know, if she brings me to a steak and shake, then it's going to be a steak and shake for her, but we'll see. You know, treat me right. I'm owed a steak first, and then we will get one for her. Ooh, did the good doctor get it for me immediately? Let's see. Waffleophagus, are you willing to cancel the bets? No, that's the whole fucking point. The whole point, I didn't want to bet her until after Trump got nominated because I want a steak. I'm willing to buy her a steak, but I want a steak. Is this not loading? Has this been scrubbed from the internet? Oh, no. This fucking... I swear. We're going to... I got to spend some time today. Riverside rolled out their live streaming, and I hope to God that they have a better... No, stupid... I hope to God that they just let me click fucking links in the chat. Driving me up a wall. All right. Yeah, here we go. No discipline, no plan, no strategy. Kamala Harris's campaign in meltdown. Campaign manager Juan Rodriguez is taking most of the heat for the failings, but his defenders point their finger at the candidate's sister, Maya Harris. Kamala Harris's campaign is careening toward a crack-up as the California senator crisscrosses the country trying to revive her sputtering presidential bid Aides at her fast-shrinking headquarters are deep into the finger-pointing stages as much of the blame is being placed on the campaign manager, Juan Rodriguez. After Rodriguez announced dozens of layoffs, and redeployments in late October to stem overspending, 3 more staffers at headquarters were let go in recent days. Officials say they've become increasingly frustrated at the campaign's chief lack of clarity about what changes they have been made to right the ship and his plans to turn the situation around. They hold Rodriguez responsible for questionable budget decisions, including continuing to bring on new hires shortly before the layoffs began. Amid the turmoil, some aides have gone directly to campaign chair Kamala Harris, the candidate's sister, and argued that Rodriguez needed to be replaced if Harris has any hope of a turnaround. It's a campaign of id, said one senior Harris official, laying much of the blame on Rodriguez, but also pointing to a leaderless structure at the top that's been allowed to flail without accountability. What feels right? What impulse do you have right now? What emotion? What frustration? The person described the current state of the campaign in blunt terms: no discipline, no plan, no strategy. This account is based on interviews with more than a dozen current and former staffers, as well as those close to the campaign, including donors. The sources were granted anonymity. And so we don't have to read the whole thing here. But this was, and if memory serves correctly, this was not the only article like that. Her campaign was very leaky toward the end. And so again, to go back to what we knew, what are the burdens that have been, and will they affect what can be? What has been, and will they burden what can be? That's the way we're going to put it. Who is going to run this campaign? Because you're trying to build a plane in the sky right now. You got to figure out what your message is. You got to figure out how it differs from Joe Biden's message. Are you going to run the exact same thing? Are you going to change it a little bit? What kind of changes? How are you going to message them? Who are the voters that you are targeting? Because guess what? I would not be shocked if Kamala Harris does not poll as well in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania as Joe Biden. You know, I assume you're going to probably look more. Georgia's now an absolute must win for you. You cannot lose Georgia now. Kamala Harris has to turn Atlanta out. She needs black voters. Has Nugstradamus made his prediction for Kamala's VP? Oh, let's talk VP. All right. Let's see. Where does this put RFK? Squarely a burr in the ass of the Democrats, because if you are a frustrated old white guy who doesn't like that the old white guy was pushed off the stage, but you don't want to vote for Trump, RFK is looking pretty good now. Let's look at predicted. Democratic Veep. Spoiler alert, gonna be a white guy. Gonna be a white guy. And so far, it looks like we have a fatal four-way here. A straight white guy. Get out of here, Pete. Sorry. 2028 for you. We've got a four-way dance here. Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Roy Cooper of North Carolina, Andy Beshear of Kentucky, and Mark Kelly of Arizona. So, right now, Josh Shapiro is on top. Andy Beshear was on Morning Joe. I believe Roy Cooper was as well. Andy Beshear took an unsolicited shot at J.D. Vance. Here are the benefits. Josh Shapiro is the only one of these four that comes from a blue wall state. So let's say that, like we mentioned before, Kamala Harris is going to have a harder, tougher sledding in the blue wall states than Biden did. Biden obviously has longtime connections to Pennsylvania, and he speaks to an older, whiter demographic in Michigan and Wisconsin, as well as PA. Josh Shapiro is your salve against that. I don't know if other people will say it. I'll say it here. Is the current makeup of the Democratic Party ready for a Jewish VP? What is Josh Shapiro's stance on what's happening in the Middle East? All right, so there's that. Are they ready for a Jew? Are they ready for a Jew on the ticket? Roy Cooper, Andy Beshear. All right, so Roy Cooper, the best thing that you are hoping for is that now North Carolina is in play. That would be a map changer for the Democrats. Right now, it is out of play. Andy Beshear has been looked at as, in terms of a political animal, the most interesting and exciting. Josh Shapiro is similarly somebody that is looked at as a big future person. I personally think Andy Beshear is a better politician than Josh Shapiro just by total retail, and I haven't done a ton of research into him, but just drive by watching them speak. I don't think Shapiro is a particularly dynamic speaker. I think Andy Beshear is like an exciting speaker. But he's from Kentucky. So aside from having a dude from the South on the ticket, you know, maybe, again, it's like, all right, well, let's go to Atlanta. Let's make sure that Atlanta makes sense. Is what it is. I like Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, to me, the only downside on Mark Kelly is that he's short. I think he is the S-tier VP candidate. Astronauts are cool. You're going to take assassination valor off the table because he's the husband of Gabby Giffords, who similarly was shot. I think he's a good speaker, and I think he brings a moderate energy that kind of resonates. Like Andy Beshear and Josh Shapiro, I don't know Roy Cooper so much, but they're thirsty. Mark Kelly has a like I will serve if called kind of energy to him. And part of that's from how he got into the Senate in the first place. He's a military veteran, astronaut. I don't know. There's an element of humanity there that I don't think the rest of the list here have. I do believe this is a four-person race. If you say phrases like Michelle Obama, you're immediately disqualified from any future conversation. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. If she wanted it, she would have had it. She doesn't want it. So we're done talking about it. Gretchen Whitmer, she's like, I will see you guys in 28. Gavin Newsom, I will see you guys in 28. That's pretty much it. Oh, damn, you can buy a 1 cent a 1 cent share in Kamala Harris being her own VP. That's nice. Let me say this. I don't think you need somebody from the Rust Belt to be on the ticket because I don't think the VP really matters that much. It matters more in the world of political nerds so we can see who gets the rub than it does in this race, because I think that now and 100 days from now, the three most important Democrats on this ticket are going to be, in order, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and then whoever this VP is. The VP will not be the second most important part. If everything goes great for the Democrats and America falls in love with Kamala Harris, then the two most important people on this ticket when voters go to the polls are going to be Kamala and Biden. That's a win. But the VP is not somebody that's going to have, you're going to be an abstraction of an abstraction. Kamala doesn't have her own record. And she can't propose a bold new record without torching Biden. And she won't do that. So whatever these VP people that people like or they believe in or they think are going to be great, you're going to be a copy of Biden's record. Dems have nearly destroyed the U.S. space program. I can't see how his astronaut creds help the ticket if Elon comes out against him. People love astronauts, dude. I don't know what to tell you. It ain't about it ain't about where your votes are. I mean, dude, people just love astronauts. They just love astronauts, man. What are you going to say? How are you going to capture Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin? You are going to talk about Joe Biden's great record. You're going to talk about abortion. You're going to prosecute Donald Trump. That's something you hear a lot. Kamala Harris is a prosecutor. Donald Trump is a felon. This is going to be the trial of Donald Trump. Will Doug be in charge of Christmas decorations? Yeah. Yeah, we can open up for calls. People who love astronauts love building rockets more. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, I think people who have been to space, people like people who have been to space. Big Jim, why are you writing fantasy things when we actually have real shit to talk about? Caller, turn off your radio.
Me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Oh, I didn't.
Initially.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
That's fine.
I thought I did. Hey, how are you?
What's up, dude? Dr. Whiskey.
Oh, so, oh God, I got several things.
Okay.
So I'm taking a victory lap because I was semi-arguing with you whenever you said Biden was not going to drop out. So I just said there was way too much chatter from way too many important people in the way too many leaks from important people about it to not honestly be considered.
Oh,
So
I mean,
I was a holdout in saying that he was going to do it. And I even said it was coming Sunday too.
okay, cool.
So, all right. With that being said, does anybody in the Democratic Party honestly think, like anybody that matters really, that do they honestly think that they can win this thing?
I believe that right now there's a lot of Democratic optimism. Yes.
Lots of hopium being consumed.
Nate Silver put it like it's getting a high draft pick after your team just accidentally got into a tanking season. Like you weren't planning on tanking, but it turns out you were so bad that you now have a high draft pick. Like that's the similar energy.
No. It's too late. So I think this is the powers that be in the Democratic Party's way of getting Kamala out of any like future stuff for the Democratic Party. They're putting her at the top of the ticket. She's gonna take a hard L. She's gonna be tainted big time from this whole debacle, including the hard L, and then she's just persona non grata from running any office again.
So I had somebody during the RNC that is in a high enough position that the way they were talking made it feel like they might know more than the way that they were putting on. And they told me, this is over. It's done. Joe is going to drop out, and he would have dropped out Friday if it were not for the fact that he does legitimately have COVID. He knows that he is going to give an Oval Office address, and he does not want to cough through it.
He's sicker than letting on too, is my other theory.
So that was told to me. That same person then said almost exactly what you said. That they know there are just demographic problems they have with this election. They know that they have a record problem. They know that Donald Trump has essentially been able to launder himself back into normalcy, which is something that they couldn't have let happen if they were going to win. They had to make him so tainted and so toxic. They've kind of lost that. And they're kind of screwed because they can't pass over Kamala. Now I think they think that there's a world in which if they could really do a hot swap and now it's Josh Shapiro at the top of the ticket, that you're betting on a governor who hasn't been tested like that in an insane situation, but at least you have a high enough variance where you can run against Joe Biden's record and say, here's the new thing that the Democrats are going to promise you. But that really wasn't going to happen because you'd be passing over a black woman, and they could not do that. So
this is a lose situation for the Dems, and so whoever that smart person was, I'm on board with them on that one.
Yes.
So, and I think the same goes for whoever the VP pick is going to be. Maybe not so bad. It really depends on who they pick. If they pick somebody who is, pretty well known in the party right now, that, would honestly be looked at as a serious consider for a VP candidate earlier on. I think that is also going to be them tapping somebody to get the stank of the L on them and get them the hell out of the way as well.
No, I disagree with that. I do think that for the vice presidential pick, this is somebody saying, here's how much I love the party. I will step into the breach. I know that this isn't a great gig, but you want to know what? It might be. I'm going to give it my damnedest. I'm going to give a great debate performance against JD Vance. I'm going to show everybody that I am a good party boy and put on my party hat. That is what they are saying.
I think that will be the case if it's somebody less well known. If it's somebody that's already very well known, then I stand by my put the stank on them. If it's somebody less well known, it's going to be.
Well, I mean, would you consider Josh Shapiro, Roy Cooper, Andy Bashir, and Mark Kelly as very well known?
Some more than others, obviously. I think Mark Kelly's the one where I'm kind of in the middle on, because he's well known, but he's also, I don't know that he's despised by anybody.
It's hard to hate an astronaut.
Yes, exactly. And somebody in the chat was saying earlier about potentially hating him because of the cuts that the Dems have done to NASA and everything. But the thing about that versus astronauts is astronauts are known for, getting the mission done. No politics involved. We don't care. We'll go up and shake the hands of the commies and all that stuff. So I don't think that, or to kind of agree with what you're saying. Everybody loves the astronauts. You might hate you might hate NASA or not NASA, but the party that's gutting them though. So
yeah, I think Mark Kelly is the pick. I think if I were the Republicans, I would be most scared of Mark Kelly.
Yeah, he's the one that that kind of blows my theory out of the water about like being well known and wanting to taint him, because he might just be like in the middle enough of being well known versus not as well known that this could just at least get his name out there to more folks for the next cycle.
Yeah.
But all right, well that's all I had, sir. I did chuckle quite heartily at the Substack and then the please disregard. That was awesome. I love that.
It was, I legitimately would have been more annoyed if the news hit before I hit publish.
It's almost like your equivalent of hitting reply all on a corporate email. It's like, oh shit, that went out way too soon.
I would so much rather people at least be able to read it. For the 7 people that read it immediately, because also I don't think that, like, all right, so my larger point of he's going to stay in, that obviously hilariously an L I have to live with for the rest of my life. But the rest of the point I do think was correct, which, like, the meat of the post was what humiliations lie in store for Joe Biden this week. And I think what we learned was that level of humiliation was something that Joe Biden couldn't bear.
Yeah.
And so I do think that everything else I said in there was legitimate.
And also, I just want to kind of reiterate too, like, I really do think he's sicker than being let on with COVID. I don't think the COVID had anything, or at least not much, to do with the decision to drop out because of the timing of it and everything. But we're back to real serious height of Biden right now. And I just really think that the COVID diagnosis, coupled with, he was already going pretty far downhill with the mental cognition stuff. I think it's a 1-2 whammy for him. I mean, for somebody of that age, that's tough,
Yeah. Look, I think that there's a lot of questions about Biden. I think that.
And now he doesn't have to answer them because he's like, well, fuck it. I'm lame duck for just a few more months anyways. I'm not running again. I don't have to answer to your how am I doing questions.
I don't know. I mean, I think that the Republicans are certainly going to ask a lot of questions about that on what the health of the sitting president of the United States is.
Yeah, they definitely will. But I mean, it's such a short time frame. There's no way they're going to try to 25th Amendment him or anything right now.
It depends on Kamala's poll numbers.
It depends on that big time. But
if Kamala does not turn this thing around polling wise, like, anything is on the table in terms of Biden, because also he's lost all of his leverage now. He has no more leverage.
No more future power. All power is future power, right? Like
he is done. He is like, they are not, if they believe they can squeeze 5 more points on the margins by making him quit and making Kamala the first woman president, they will push him off a bridge.
Yeah. All right. Before I go, I want you to pick a name right now. Who's it going to be? Who's the VP? Who's getting the nod?
I mean, this brand of the Democratic Party is not subtle or particularly imaginative. So I would say Shapiro.
You're going to say Shapiro. I'm going to go with Mark Kelly right now. You've kind of talked enough about him that he seems like the safe pick.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, have a good week.
Yeah. All right, man. Talk to you. Except for the Jew thing. That's the other problem. Did you see Donnie Cheeto complaining that they spent their money against Joe and they want money back? No. I did not see that. Was that on Truth Social, Tito? Mr. Merrill Barr.
Quickly to answer what you just said, yes, it's on Truth Social. Trump's been on a tirade. He's posting through it. It's 2020 chaos back on his social. It's hilarious. Strong recommend you go check all that out. I am excited in a very strange and interesting way. I'm excited because I'm not excited. And let me explain that. I have been able to vote since 2008. And so 4 cycles now. And the first 2 cycles, I had to fall in love with the candidate, right? Particularly 08, but then also in 12. I had to fall in love with the candidate. And then in 2016,
were you hesitant? You were hesitant? Were you a Hillary?
No,
man?
No. In 2008 and 2012, I was like all in on Obama, right? I was like,
so you didn't have to fall in love. You did fall in love.
I did fall in love. Fair enough. 2016, I had to hold the nose, right? I was hesitant on the Hillary vote, but I was like, look, I gotta do it. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. 2020, I had to really hold my nose. That can't smell like farts. Like, it's just like, oh, but no, you gotta do it. Just gotta get the crazy guy out. This is gonna be the first cycle in my lifetime where I'm just like, yeah, no, she's fine. I'm good with that. I got no, boring liberal politician. Yes, please. Like, and I'm not. Do I necessarily love her? Nah. Do I hate her? Nah. She's just there, and I am very excited to vote for her. She's there, like, and I'm excited because I'm not excited. There's something that makes me feel good about that. It makes me feel like, oh, this feels like what I've been told politics is supposed to be. Boring. It's just that thing I got to do in November. Done. All right, let me go back to whatever I was doing. Like, I'm excited to not be excited.
Do you think she's gonna win?
Yes.
You do. You believe.
I really do. And I believe because I think I'm not the only one that feels that way. This way of like, oh, I don't have to.
Were you not going to vote for Biden?
I was in a mode of whether or not I was going to vote for president. Like, I was going to vote blue down ballot for everything else. But I was debating whether or not I was going to leave president blank.
Okay. I mean, you're in a safe state. But if you were in a swing state, you would have voted for Biden.
I'm not a swing state, can't make a call. I do live in a safe state, which is fair. But to point out though, it would have been the first time I would have ever done that. Like, I always, vote for president. No, have voted blue.
Yeah.
Every time. It would have been the first time I was like, nope. I would have pulled your move and would have voted for my dad. Just for funsies, right? That's kind of where
I do it for principle because I'm a trained Stradivarius of truth. That
So yeah, that's how I feel on that. All right, let me ask you 2 galaxy brain questions based on what I've seen thus far.
Okay, you are wound up. You are excited about this.
I'm excited to not have to hold my nose to vote.
Say you're excited. You're allowed to be excited. You don't need to qualifier on. But I know you call in all the time. We know when you're excited. It's fine. We can hear it in your voice.
But I don't want people to think I'm excited.
You fell out of a coconut tree. You are unburdened by what has been. It's fine. You are a true coconut.
Oh my God. I'm excited to not be excited.
I think this is like Obama again for you.
No, it's not.
This is so Obama again.
It's so not.
Obama reboot, female Obama. Is there anything more 2024 than rebooting 1968 and casting Hubert Humphrey as a black woman?
Oh, fuck. All right.
If only he had red hair. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Number 1, there was an Act Blue heat map that they put out.
Yes.
I put it in the chat a couple times. And everyone's jumping on that heat map being like, oh, look at everything that's on the table now. And it's like, Texas isn't on the table. Shut the fuck up. But the Florida heat map interests me because the amount of places the donations are coming from within the state. Is Florida potentially on the table?
No.
100% no?
Next question. No.
Okay. All right. Two, the stuff you're saying about CN28 to all the VPs, CN28. If Kamala wins, does that mean there won't be a 28?
True. You're right. And that's why I think that you have some people that are running really hard for vice president, because look, right now, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen at all. Anybody who tells you that they have an idea, that they have an idea of what's going to happen are lying to you. And anybody who is correct past this guessed correctly. Like, there's no precedent for this. There is absolutely none. And so I think that there is a tremendous amount of excitement for Kamala Harris right now from Democrats, a tremendous amount. And that's very good. You'd rather have it rather than not. I wonder where some of it is coming from because it's not like Kamala had.
You some of it.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Because it's not like Kamala Harris was looked at as a super bright shining star to begin with. So my guess is that a lot of that excitement is just survivors' giddiness that they are out of this doom loop with Biden.
Yes, that's how I feel.
But the reality of that is that fades, right? Like that, you're going to run out of, thank God we are out of the Biden doom loop pretty quickly, especially in these cycles. And now you are going to realize, okay, Kamala is the top of our ticket. I will tell you, and spoilers for the campaign Undertaker episode we're going to do on Friday for Joe Biden. But the monologue that I have had in my head, Hollywood screenwriter Meryl Barr, is the Michael Caine monologue from The Dark Knight, where he is talking about how the mob bosses needed to stop Batman and they turned to somebody that they didn't quite understand in the Joker. And then, I'll put Kamala's laugh instead of the Joker's laugh. But like, I wonder if in a month there's going to be a realization of like, oh shit, we really didn't like this person. We by all measures, we need to get him out. But now we don't have somebody that we really think is going to carry the torch as far as we want. I wonder. And again, I don't know anything. And nobody knows everything. I do know that right now, Democrats are over the moon, excited. Meryl's going to get a Kamala tattoo today.
But hold on. Isn't that what politics used to be? And the president necessarily wasn't meant to be that ideologue and then 2016 is what changed that. Or Obama was really what changed that.
What?
And then
what the fuck are you?
It was about the party.
No. Explain your position.
That you're saying that, in a month from now, Democrats are going to realize that who they have at the top of the ticket is not a standard bearer, right? Is that what you're saying?
No.
When
has the president not been the standard bearer of their party?
I'm confused at what to me, the case is she is a return to what life used to be.
When?
Right?
When?
But not even 2016, pre-2008, when politics was boring.
When did you believe politics was boring?
When I was a kid and wasn't thinking about it.
Post or 9/11? You're saying the 9/11 politics was boring?
No. Well, I'm thinking more like Clinton politics, but that's again before.
Okay,
scandal.
So which ones? The ones in Arkansas, the Whitewater ones, the Vince Foster murder or the death, suicide. Sorry, don't put me on the list. Like, when was politics boring? Was it Iran-Contra? Was that the really boring part? Was it the Iranian hostage crisis? Was that the boring part? Was it Vietnam? Was Vietnam the boring part? What about the Cold War? What about World War II? What about World War I? When was politics boring, Meryl?
But isn't that what we talk about all the time? How it used to be that just the nerds followed
Who's
it?
we?
You talk about this all the time.
Oh, that nerds followed politics off season. Yes, but I've said that the reason for that isn't because politics changed. It's because we don't go to see movies the way that we used to. We don't watch the same television shows the way that we used to. Like, that's the reason why.
Got it.
Like, it's not, politics is always something that's going to be interesting because it is the public trust, and we debate the public trust. We debate the role that our government has in our society. We live in a American experiment for which we are more hands-on about what and the providence of our government into our lives. The European culture is a little bit more permissive of things like that, and so we think about it a lot. The difference is that before, like, we also all went to go see The English Patient because you wanted to be able to talk about it the next day.
Right.
And we watched Friends and all that stuff. Like, now the only thing that cuts through all of it is politics. And so
Got it.
That's the only reason why we're there. But I mean, if your argument is I'm super excited because now I don't have to think about this election anymore, number one, I think you're lying. And number two, I don't think that's a recipe to win. I think you want the recipe to be, oh my God, thank God we have somebody that can prosecute the case against Donald Trump. We have somebody that's going to be able to not have every interview be turned into a 72-hour news cycle about how his brains are leaking out of his nose. Right. That's what you, but you are more excited by that. And that's what I'm saying. You are more excited.
Do you think it's weird that the Republicans, even like Trump and Vance, have been calling for Joe to step down from the office after this, considering that if Kamala goes in as incumbent, it's almost a guaranteed victory at that point.
Huh?
If Kamala is the incumbent in November, right? Because Joe steps down, right? That feels like a guaranteed victory.
It is not.
You don't. But I think about what you say all the time: the daring, right? I dare you to. Right?
I think it will be more efficacious than where it would be before, but I don't think it's a guaranteed victory. I mean, again, you got this Wall Street Journal article that's talking about when Joe Biden came to address House Democrats for, I think it was the Inflation Reduction Act, and he was so out of it that Dean Phillips decided to run for president. That was 2.5 years ago. Like, and people inside the party knew. If Joe Biden steps down, then I think it's going to intensify the Republican line of what did you know and when did you know it? Because up until less than a month ago, the party line from the Democrats was that Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. You should see him behind the scenes. He's an absolute mastermind. He's asking me all the questions that I don't know, blah, 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 blah. The Republican strategy is the country is in free fall right now with somebody who is not mentally prepared to be the president. And we know that because his party just pushed him off the ticket. And so if he were to resign and Kamala were to be the president, I think that would intensify those lines of conversation from the Republicans. We don't know how they will land with the American public. We don't know how they will land with independents. We do know that the longer that is any kind of conversation, the more that Democrats have to talk about it, the better things are for the Republicans and for Trump, because Kamala wants to move this into a referendum on Trump. That's the only way that they win, because they are not able to win on the record. If they were able to win on the record, then Joe Biden would still be in this race.
This is my last question. It's a very simple one. Has baby gotten memo that not to come out before Chicago? Because we will not accept you not making Chicago.
We're going to find out whether or not she can hold for breaking news. That's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
All right. Go check Trump's social because it's wild. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
They can't keep Biden in a bunker till November. Oh, yeah. And then, by the way, we have the Secret Service. The Secret Service is going to be talking to Congress today. So there is going to be crazy shit coming out of there. If she waits till after Chicago, we will name her Kamala. Yes. All right. 2 seconds. I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay. Kimberly Cheadle said that this was their biggest operational failure, but she has not resigned. Oh, yeah, we should bring the smooth jazz back. I know her nickname is Mamala, but I feel like they need to pivot to Cool Auntie Kamala. I once had a friend of mine back in 2020. I said, what do you think of Kamala Harris? And she told me she will never win the presidency because she is a woman in her then late 40s, now early 50s, without kids. Hello.
Hey, Justin, it's Big Jim.
What's up, Big Jim?
Well, living in my world of fantasy, because fantasy is more believable right now than reality.
I'll tell you what, I would say if there was ever a time that I would be not shocked that orcs and elves came out of the woods, now would be it. Because at this rate, our October surprise is going to be an alien invasion.
I think that's the only thing that can top it.
Space
right now,
aliens, Republicans, space aliens. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So I went to our good friend ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, who do you think is going to be the VP pick based off of website data, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
So its first pass, it said, oh, it's Stacey Abrams.
Okay.
I'm like, well, that ain't going to happen. So I said, wait a minute, double check. Look at your confidence ratings. Come back and give it to me again.
Yeah.
So now ChatGPT, with a confidence level of 9, is predicting your VP nominee as Gretchen Whitmer.
Big Gretch.
Big Gretch. With a number 2 of Pete Buttigieg, with a Josh Shapiro in 3rd, Mark Kelly in 4th, and Andy Bashir in 5th, which I thought that was kind of interesting. Up until about 2 weeks ago, I had never heard of Andy Bashir.
Yeah, he's a favorite with some election Twitter people. Number one, Veep is real life. We can all agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Veep is a documentary. This is a plot line on Veep, for the record. Spoiler alert, if you want to know how this one ends, she eventually becomes president and then loses the election. So if Veep is real life, then we have 2 big more moments to get to. That being said, there's a line later in Veep in which she is discussing who she's going to pick as a running mate. And she has recommended another woman, and she goes, on all-female ticket, look, Americans work hard for a living. They don't need that bullshit. And that is whatever, as always, what I think of whenever Gretchen Whitmer would be mentioned as a VP. Although she says that she's out. She says she's not going to be a part of it.
So I really thought it was interesting. They've got Kelly as a 7.5. I know he's your favorite.
Well, he's the one. Yeah, he is the one that I think that shows the most promise, and also kind of toughens her up a little bit on the border. He's been more of a border hawk than her, and because he's on the border in Arizona. They're getting killed in Arizona right now. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that Mark Kelly has some real grit on the tires.
I think the only thing that at this point you need with a VP pick is somebody who is going to be, in my personal opinion, cutthroat enough to be able to take not only JD down a couple notches, but also take down Trump a couple notches with wit. And I don't see anybody on here who can do it.
Bashir would be, if you want rhetorical stuff, then it's Bashir. The question then becomes, are you into a Palin situation where your VP is more popular than the top of your ticket?
Yeah.
And you don't want that. That tends to not work out.
I mean, I don't know. Worked out okay for Palin's kids, I guess, but that's about it. All right, man.
I think there was a Meghan McCain tweet where it's like, this has been the most, before this happened, it's like, this has been the craziest week in politics. And my father picked a woman for vice president without knowing that her teenage daughter was pregnant.
Yeah, I know. All right, man. I just want to shoot the line with you for a couple minutes. Love you much, and tell Ashley I said hi.
All right, bye. Big boy Pritzker. I think Pritzker's out too. How am I going to handle this, the craziest time ever in politics, with a new baby due anytime now? I don't know, but you can find out at takepoliticsseriously.com. Again, takepoliticsseriously.com. That's where you need to go if you want to support this show. Get 2 bonus episodes each and every week. If you would buy me a cup of coffee once a week so I could sit in the car with you, boy, do I got the deal for you. Takepoliticsseriously.com. Who's this?
It's Waffle.
What up, Waff?
So, are y'all going to release the We're Not Wrong, like, maybe today, so y'all can have a full episode? Keep the Patreon, like, if it's charging by episode on Patreon, just give the people something relevant faster.
sorry, the one that we recorded on Friday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead and trim that one out.
Yes. No, that's the plan. Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that out of the way, I have one other topic that is very brief because I imagine you're going to shoot it down instantly. My going conspiracy theory is that Biden didn't actually make an announcement yesterday because he wasn't aware that he didn't sign off on it happening. Someone took over the Twitter, released all that, and then said, we're going to now have the time between now and when he makes the announcement to say, look, you're screwed. Like, you can't take it back now.
So you think it's a for real palace coup? Because that's like for real palace coup stuff.
Yeah. For what it's worth, this is a fun conspiracy theory that I'm not fully bought in on. But then when you hear things like the aides were still calling 30 minutes before the announcement, I'm like, is it fun anymore? Is it real?
So here's the official argument is laid out by I think it was Peter Baker of the New York Times, was that the decision was made Saturday morning because Nancy Pelosi has pretty much made it clear, hey, look, this is either going to happen the easy way or the hard way, and I have dripped all of these representatives. You're starting to get the frontline Senate candidates coming out against you. We have cut off the money spigot, and you are going to have to announce really, really bad numbers in the end of July. And your people are doing the accounting on that right now. So you got to make the call now. Biden apparently has been like pushing this off, saying, hey, give me a little bit more time. Let me meet with Netanyahu, blah, blah, blah. But there was a phone call Saturday where he got some numbers that he really didn't like and made the call that, hey, now's the time where it needs to happen. He got his core people into Rehoboth Beach. They drafted the letter Saturday. Biden sleeps on it Saturday night. Sunday makes the call to do it. And it's only at that point that they call the party, that they call Kamala, and they call his campaign. And 1 minute after they make those calls, he releases the letter because he doesn't want it leaked. He wants to be the one that breaks the news. So again, the rumors that I've heard is that he does have COVID. He doesn't want to be on camera or on mic knowing that that's going to be the legacy because he is doing a thing that LBJ did and everybody, knows that shot of LBJ talking. So, yeah, that's as it has been explained.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that Pelosi, even though she stepped down, still holds literally all the power.
She is the president of the United States. Yes. Okay. No, yeah. Well, I mean, look, Pelosi is somebody that, and I heard this from multiple different people yesterday. If it's a battle between Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi wins 100 times out of 100. If she wants you to do something, she will lean on you to do it. And what she did was run the tried and true Pelosi playbook of don't have everybody come out at once, make it a drip, 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 drip. She organized it so it was building pressure. And then eventually, the dam broke.
Yeah, I just hadn't heard the whole lead up to it, and just from someone that pays attention to you but isn't like in it. Yeah, it was all on Twitter. He didn't say anything, and I was like, did someone get like this? Could be a Twitter hack. This genuinely could be a Twitter hack.
I think that was an initial thought. Was is this real? Is this really how he does it? And also, it's like, he's like, oh, I'm going to speak to the nation. We don't know when. There's no time set for him to do it. It's weird. It's really weird. It's really, really weird. And, you know, who knows? Maybe he does an Oval Office address and he goes Wolf of Wall Street and just goes, I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that this was a co-operated situation between Nancy Pelosi and Obama. And Obama does the high-end stuff, and Pelosi was doing the street-level stuff in terms of coordinating with various different representatives. Although I don't think that it was totally out of their brain. I think that it was them channeling a lot of building fears with rank-and-file Democrats and donors, as well as the poll people who believe in numbers, which Joe Biden didn't for the last couple of weeks.
all right. Yeah, no, that was it. I don't want to keep you too long, but it gives me at least some hope that it wasn't a literal coup that was propagated by Twitter being hacked.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it was, I don't think that, I think that this was his hand that did it. And even reading that statement, it sounds like something that he would say, right? It did not sound like it was massaged into a perfect oratory. It was very much in Biden's language.
All right. Well, you have a good day, sir.
All right, Doug. Peace out.
Peace.
No audio or video because Biden's COVID is in the way. Obama did have a nice long Medium post. Boy, it's crazy that Obama goes from, hey, we all have bad debates, to a great man has made a great decision. Oh, this was a pressure campaign. Like, people are getting hung up on the phrase coup. But, you know, politics is a hyperbolic world. It was a party coup. That's for damn sure. Yeah, the convention will pick the best person. They're not even going to go to the convention. They're going to do it on the virtual roll call. Which, I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen this election. If Kamala wins, then you have a lot of the same problems with the party that you had before. If Kamala doesn't, I weirdly think it might be long-term better for the party. I don't know if it'll be better for the country, but I think it would be better for the party because there's a lot of stuff that just needs to get worked out with this party. Like, things are really top down. And there is a 1984 element of like, Joe Biden is the best president since FDR. Kamala Harris has always been our nominee. I finally learned to love Nancy Pelosi. There's a weird, the Democrats seem allergic to getting their yayas out in public. There is a strong party decides vibe. You saw it in 2020 and now you've seen it in 2024. This is 2 elections in a row where party elders decided the nominee. Once for Joe Biden and once to eject Joe Biden. Oh, 2016. Yeah. All right. So 3 in a row. Yeah. And 2016, they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar too. All right. So let's think back. 2012. No, it's Obama. Right. So yeah, 2016, 2020, 2024, the party decided the nominee. Obama was the last surprise, and he's played the biggest role in deciding since. How does Ash feel about having a baby that roots for the Cubs because she's born in Chicago? She's not going to be born in Chicago. She will be born in Austin, and I will be here if Ashley is close to labor in any way. That is my number one priority. My number one priority is the birth of my baby girl and my wife. Justin plans the next kid to not be near a convention. Well, look, that's the thing about this process, man. You don't really know. You don't really know which bullets are going to hit. You're just firing. You're just spraying and praying. So I'm saying I'm a beta male cuck. Hey, look, dude. I'm a family man. I am a family man. I have just been told that among the things that women don't forget is that you were working while they went into labor. I can't wait for the election night stream. Yeah, dude, that's going to be wild. I was at a family party yesterday and they said, drill, baby, drill. And I asked what position did they think that we were in global production of oil. They said third or fourth. I showed that we were first. And they flatly told me that was not real. Well, it's probably because Joe Biden refuses to say that because it would piss off the left side of his flank. But that's true. It's true. We are number one in oil production. Do you have a suggestion or prediction on what Kamala could do to make her defining issue that differentiates her from Biden? It's hard to do because, they are in power. But the number one thing that I believe that the Democratic Party should be doing right now is something on abortion that's not, please give us 60 votes in the Senate again. And that's essentially what Roe is on the ballot means. Roe is on the ballot or we're going to restore Roe. That's the new thing, is restore Roe. That means get us 60 votes in the Senate. You're not going to get 60 votes in the Senate. You're almost assuredly going to lose the Senate, even if it's by a very, very slim margin. That's a huge success, is losing the Senate by a very slim margin just because of the map. I think that you would genuinely earn goodwill by saying, here are issues that we are going to take very, very seriously in terms of enshrining women's health, and we are going to make moves going forward to do it. Whether it's not just trying to put bills up, making a big deal about we're putting this up in the Senate and the Republicans are shooting it down, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I just think showing that there's some progress is huge. And I do think that that's part of the problem with the Biden record, is that they haven't done anything like that since Dobbs. Coverage saying moments away. Moments away from what? What are we moments away from? Oh, is Harris speaking? Okay, yeah. We will. Okay. So obviously the staging here is at the White House. Surrounded by youth. Not a shock. Not a mistake that it is nothing but young people up on stage, fresh-faced youth to be surrounding Kamala Harris. Okay, looks like we are getting Kamala now.
The path forward, and really yesterday they did try to assure these staffers that they would still have a job with the Wilmington, Delaware operation, that they had built this campaign in a way, and in the words of the campaign co-chair, to quote, be able to beat Donald Trump, and that is exactly what they were going to try to now seamlessly transition to do with Vice President Harris leading.
Can you guys hear me?
She will be delivering.
Can you hear this?
On her own, and she'll be thanking the campaign staffers as we see her approaching there.
That's right. Here comes Vice President Kamala Harris. She will be briefly introduced before, of course, taking the microphone at this key moment. Again, the Vice President set to head to Wilmington, Delaware, not too long from now, in order to speak with campaign staff. It's a moment you have to think these college students knew they'd be in the spotlight, given that they were coming to the White House. They probably did not think 48 hours ago that they'd end up broadcast live on national TV, given this moment here for Vice President Harris. I believe that Ryan Nobles is still with us as well. The question, of course, moving forward, Ryan, what are we going to hear from some of these top Democratic leaders who have not yet endorsed Kamala Harris? It is possible that they are giving President Biden the space to make his own remarks, as we expect him to do later on this week.
Yeah, and I talked to one Democratic operative, Hallie, who said that we shouldn't read too much into the fact that you have folks like Pelosi, Schumer, and Obama who've yet to make their endorsements known, because there could be a strategic play here. For instance, when President Obama and Michelle Obama decide to endorse, if they decide to endorse Kamala Harris, that on its own could be a day-long news cycle, especially if President Obama is willing to go on camera and talk about it. So, you know, I don't think that we should read into it that there's any kind of reluctance on behalf of any of these leaders to step up and endorse Kamala Harris, but there could be more of a strategic plan here. And I also do think that there is a real concern and an angst among Democrats that this process plays itself out too quickly, and that it looks as though no one else was given the opportunity to raise their hand and get involved in this race.
Yeah, you think that nobody else was able to get involved in this race when immediately everybody endorses Kamala Harris? Is there any chance that there's a debate between Harris and Trump? I think it will eventually happen, but Trump is obviously haggling a little bit now, saying that he agreed to 2 debates with Joe Biden and he didn't like either of the venues. Now he wants a little bit more say as to where they're going to be. This is the reason why you have a commission for debates, because they set the things initially. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Yes, no, I have taken the video down because we don't need to listen to NBC blather on during this intro. I will bring up the audio when Kamala Harris starts speaking. Okay, here we go.
His capacity for the job.
Ryan Nobles, thank you. Let's listen in to Vice President Kamala Harris at the White House.
Thank you for all you do to support these extraordinary student athletes. And it is good to be here with so many leaders. including, of course, members of Congress, members of our administration, and our extraordinary athletes. Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words
Back
about
on the
our president.
road.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap. In one term, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who have served 2 terms in office. And I first came to know President Biden through his son, Beau. We worked together as attorneys general in our states, and back then, Beau would often tell me stories about his dad. He would talk about the kind of father and the kind of man that Joe Biden is. The qualities that Beau revered in his father are the same qualities that I have seen every day in our president. His honesty.
Kamala Harris is from
his
Oakland.
integrity, his commitment to
Classic Oakland accent.
family, his big heart, and his love, deep love of our country. And I am firsthand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation. And so with that, on behalf of our president and Dr. Biden, I am honored to welcome all of you to the White House to celebrate the achievements of these great athletes. Every one of them is a national champion, a national champion. In America, tens of millions of people play a sport as a child, and the best of the best grow up to become national champions. Here today, we have 7 undefeated teams, 11 repeat champions, and 20 first.
You have been listening to
All
Vice
right.
President Kamala Harris there on the South Lawn of the White House.
So we're gonna cut away as soon as she stops talking
The start, you heard
about Biden.
effusively praising President Biden less than 24 hours after he decided to withdraw from the Democratic 2024 ticket and endorsed Kamala Harris, who is speaking now. She says she is so grateful to him for his service to the nation, talking about his unmatched legacy in modern history, and also saying that the president's feeling better and recovering fast from his COVID diagnosis. Monica Alba is joining us now. All of this, Monica, as the spotlight now intensifies on the vice president and her political future.
Yeah, and I was struck, Hallie, that she decided in those short comments about President Biden to talk about his.
All right. You want to know what? We're done. I don't want to hear a political segment about Kamala. We can go to this.
Term. And without that, we are flying blind. So the lack of answers and the lack of report is just simply not something that we can accept here. Director Cheadle, is there a standard perimeter that the Secret Service establishes around an event, or are those perimeters independently determined per event and scenario?
There is no standard. Every event and every venue is different and treated as such.
So each event has a different perimeter that is established depending on the logistics of that event. Now, you established earlier that the building upon which the shooter operated from was outside of that established perimeter, correct, for the Butler, Pennsylvania event?
It was outside of our secure perimeter, yes.
Now, that building was, I believe, 500. How far away was that building from the president?
It was approximately 200 yards.
200 yards. Now, the individual used an AR-15 in order to
Do we know that for sure?
act out his assassination attempt. An AR-15 has a range of about 400 to 600 yards. My question is, why does the Secret Service perimeter, why is the Secret Service protective perimeter shorter than one of the most popular semi-automatic weapons in the United States?
There are a number of weapons out there with a number of ranges. Again, an advance was completed. The determination of the perimeter, I'm not going to speak to specifics, but there are a number of factors that are taken into account when we determine our perimeter. Some of it has to do with terrain, some of it has to do with buildings, some of it has to do with assets and resources that are available.
And so what I'm hearing is that a perimeter was not established outdoors in an outdoor venue that would prevent an AR-15, which is one of the most common weapons used in mass shootings, from being able to be within the range of Secret Service protection.
A perimeter was established, and even though there were buildings that were outside of that perimeter, it wasn't just that building. There were a number of buildings in the area, and there was overwatch that was created to help mitigate some of those buildings.
Respectfully, Dr. Cheadle, as well.
She a
As a
doctor?
person who has experienced an enormous amount of threat incidents, including incidents that have never been reported publicly, there is a common pattern that happens here, whether it's Secret Service, FBI, Capitol Police, local departments. After a critical security failure, we often hear there will be an independent investigation. That independent investigation gets set up. Usually the expectation is between 2 to 3 months after the incident, and then nothing really occurs from there. The report is usually not satisfactory to the questions that are usually being raised here. And most importantly, corrective action is rarely taken. If I were to state anything that I think is profoundly important, is that we need to have answers to the public. Ideally, I would encourage you and the agency to be more forthright with the members that still have yet to have their questioning, because the public deserves to have full confidence, and the stakes are too high. The violence that could break out in this political moment, regardless of party, in the event of someone getting hurt, constitutes a national security threat to the entire country. Thank you, and I yield back.
Could I go back to something you
Yes,
said?
please, feel free, Director.
Ma'am, if I could just speak to something you said at the outset when you started your questioning. I want to assure you and everyone on this committee that I'm not waiting for a report to take action. We have been conducting analysis all along, and we have been adding additional features to our security details since this incident occurred.
And I'd hope you can highlight and illuminate what some of those are in the event of other members questioning as well.
Very good. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent for that photo to go into the official record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Director. Your agency has a no-fail mission, and on Saturday, July 13th, your agency spectacularly failed. The failure resulted in the death of Corey Comprador and serious injury to 2 other rally attendees, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, besides the injuries to President Trump. It is unfathomable that a 20-year-old on the radar of Secret Service and local law enforcement before President Trump went on stage was able to climb onto the roof of a building with a rifle and fire off multiple rounds before he was neutralized. Was Mr. Crooks acting alone?
Again, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation.
Was he just a lone gunman?
I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation for motive.
What the fuck?
What did the Technical Services Division determine was going to be the event perimeter?
Those are questions that we are asking, and we are
I mean, you're sitting here today. Come on, Director. Everybody said this. You knew you were going to be asked that question because it's been asked multiple times. So this is an easy one. What did they determine was going to be the event perimeter? So you should know that. I mean, this is not, gee, I got to wait till someone else tells me. What was it?
Again, I don't want to speak to specifics of the event.
Okay,
that took place.
this is a specific.
I understand.
This is a specific that you ought to know. As someone who said the buck stops with me, I'm going to stay in my job, I'm going to give the answers to the American people, and I know what happened, except for you're not going to tell us. And you're not going to tell the American people. And you yourself said in an interview that that foments this notion of conspiracy theories. Guess what? When you sit here and repeatedly tell people, hey, I have to wait, as it frustrated everybody on this committee, guess what? It undermines your credibility and whether you're really going to get to it. So I'm going to ask you again, what did the Technical Service Division determine was going to be the event perimeter?
We are still gathering reports. We are interviewing individuals.
You know what it is, though. No, you're just not going to tell us, right?
When I have those details, I will most certainly share those.
Was the gun already on the roof, or did the shooter carry the gun up with him?
I do not have that information at this time.
Well, when was the last sweep of that roof done prior to the rally?
I do not have that information at this time.
What the fuck?
So, how many holds? I mean, so most of us here have been in events.
Like, how does she not have some of that information?
I can't tell you how many times we've said there's going to be a security hold right here, so we're going to wait, and we wait to 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, and yet we're hearing from you, apparently, that there were no holds in place, so ever instituted here with President Trump's going on stage, and you said. And this is, I think, connected with this. You said they hadn't adjudicated the shooter to be a threat. He was adjudicated to be a suspicious person, even though we got some dynamic video that Mr. Krishnamurthy put on the video for us. So I guess my question for you is, and I think you answered this, I just want to see if you're consistent with what you said about an hour and a half ago. What do you do if a suspicious person is identified by the agency?
So at a number of our events, it is not unusual.
I know it's not unusual. What do you do?
Those individuals that are identified as suspicious, we will send teams out to.
Was a team sent out here then?
There were teams that were sent to identify and interview that individual.
They were sent to interview the individual who's scampered up in camo on top of a roof within 130 yards of his target. And did your team get there? When did your team get there to conduct that interview?
I don't have the details on the timeline. It is my
So if you did send, if they did send a team.
No, we just got to this. But my follow-up question is, what are we waiting for? What needs to happen?
Security hold on President Trump going on stage at that rally.
At a number of our protective sites, there are suspicious individuals that are identified all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean that they constitute a threat.
Of course not. But here you got a guy scampering up the side of a building on top of a roof. It's identified to you, and you said you sent a team there, and you can't answer that. And this gets to one of my finer points, Mr. Chairman, if I can make it, and that is, we can have these kind of interview sessions, 5 minutes, everybody gets a kiss at the pig, 5 minutes, and she gets to stonewall us, not deliver answers. So we say, okay, we're going to put together a congressional committee, a blue ribbon committee. Same crap will happen. I am calling, and I'll support that, but I will tell you this, I am calling on the Speaker to give us and put together a truly independent commission of qualified former Secret Service agencies, presidential and VIP protective services people who can actually conduct this kind of investigation and give us real answers, because I don't think you're going to give us those answers. You should have come today ready to give us answers. I call upon you to resign today. And I also would say I've got a bunch of UC requests, if I can go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Proceed with the request.
Thank you. I apologize. It might
that's all right. Go ahead.
It might take a moment.
Very important.
Anthony Guglielmi, the Secret Service spokesman, one from him.
Without objection, so ordered.
Article, U.S. Secret Service says it previously denied Trump requests for additional resources, New York Times reports.
Without objection, so ordered.
Secret Service says it denied earlier Trump requests for more federal resources.
Without objection, so ordered.
Secret Service acknowledges denying some past requests by Trump's campaign for tighter security.
Without objection, so ordered.
Preliminary findings by Senator Ron Johnson and
All
his
right.
committee.
Well, look, we will get to we will get to that at another time. I will watch it. I will say, by the way, Jen Briney is doing a immediate episode of Congressional Dish on that hearing. She is watching that hearing and is going to give her perspective on it immediately. That should come out today. So yeah, that's that. All right, guys. I have to get ready for our PX3 episode that will also be out today. Tom LoBianco, Michael Cohen, the three Caballeros are back. We are back, and we're going to talk about what can be, unburdened by what has been. We will all get a kiss of the pig here. Yeah. All right. That's it and that's all.